Claressa Shields is walking into the biggest fight of her career in less than 3 weeks, and instead of being locked in a training camp, sweating out weight, drilling combinations, watching film on Kaye, she is out here getting cooked on the internet by an artificial intelligence version of Remy that somebody built in a bedroom, and I need you to sit with how insane that sentence actually is before we go one step further. The self-proclaimed GWOT, the two-time undisputed champion, the woman who has spent the last 5 years telling the entire boxing world that she is the greatest woman of all time, is currently losing a rap beef to a computer program. Not to Remy. Not to Alycia Baumgardner. To a bot. A bot with a grudge. A bot with better bars than she has. A bot that pulled up her hairline, her business deals, her endorsements, her fingernails, her jawline, her BBL, her husband's DMs, and her entire public brand and stacked them into a 2-minute execution that has gone more viral than anything she has dropped in her actual rap career. And the reason this matters, the reason we are sitting here on July 28th having this conversation instead of previewing her August 15th title defense at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, is because this whole disaster is not a rap story. It is not even a boxing story anymore. It is a case study in what happens when an athlete outsources their identity to an internet persona they cannot maintain. There are two timelines running side by side in Claressa's life right now, and they are colliding into each other in real time. The one you have been watching, and the one that has been quietly determining the outcome of the one you have been watching. And when I show you what is sitting inside that second timeline, when I walk you through the deal structure, the promoter pressure, the ban from MVP events, the sponsorship shrinkage, and what the AI Remy track actually revealed without meaning to reveal it, you are going to understand why Claressa Shields never had a rap career to lose in the first place. She had a distraction. And the distraction is now eating her. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe. Let's get into it. Let me set the room. Claressa Shields, born in Flint, Michigan, two-time Olympic gold medalist, undisputed champion in 3 weight divisions, currently sitting at 18 wins and 0 losses with 3 knockouts, is scheduled to fight Kaye on Saturday, August 15th, 2026, at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, live on DAZN, for the WBC and WBA Unified Middleweight Championship. That is the biggest fight of the second half of her career. That is the fight that should be dominating every second of her attention, every conversation about her name, every piece of press she puts out. Kaye is 5-1-1 coming in. She is not the level of opponent Claressa should be losing sleep over inside the ring, but she is exactly the level of opponent who beats you when your head is 400 miles away from the training camp and your entire public persona has become a running joke. Now here is the context you need to have. Somewhere in the last 4 to 6 months, Claressa's public presence went from the greatest woman boxer alive to the woman who is beefing with everybody. She got into a physical altercation with Alycia Baumgardner, which by multiple reports, including Yahoo Sports and Most Valuable Promotions' own statement, led to her being banned from all future MVP events as of May 18th. Read that again. The self-proclaimed GWOT of women's boxing got herself banned from the biggest women's boxing promotion in the world because she could not keep her hands to herself outside the ring. She then decided the correct response to that situation was to drop a diss track. A rap song called Run Your Mouth, aimed at Baumgardner. Baumgardner, according to every outlet that covered it, essentially did not respond. She left Claressa on read. Which brings us to the current moment. Because when you throw a punch in the rap world and nobody swings back, and then the whole community sees you swinging at air, that is when the piranhas show up. Geisha305, a content creator who Claressa reportedly hit with a cease and desist for talking about her, dropped a track called Popped Off, going straight at Claressa's hygiene, her nails, her whole aura. Then somebody, and nobody knows exactly who, put together an AI clone of Remy Ma's voice and generated an entire diss track over it that has been passed around social media like it is a real Remy Ma record. And here is what makes the stakes so much bigger than a rap beef. Every one of these tracks is landing in the exact window Claressa is supposed to be selling her August 15th fight. Every viral clip of AI Remy calling her ugly is a clip that should have been a fight promo. Every day her name is trending for the wrong reason is a day her promoters are watching her destroy the marketing runway for a championship defense. That is the real story. And the question sitting on the table right now is simple. Is Claressa Shields still a boxer who moonlights on the internet, or is she now an internet personality who is going to have a fight get in the way of her content schedule in 3 weeks? Let us start with what everybody can see with their own eyes, because the surface evidence on this one is honestly damning before we even get into the deeper layers. Piece number 1. The Baumgardner slap. It has been reported across boxing media, confirmed on Alycia Baumgardner's own social channels, and covered by Yahoo Sports in detail. Claressa allegedly walked up to Baumgardner in a public setting and slapped her. Baumgardner posted about it. MVP responded. On May 18th, Most Valuable Promotions officially announced that Claressa Shields is banned from all future MVP events. Read that with me one more time. The most vocal self-promoter in women's boxing is banned from the promotion company that has been the single biggest driver of women's boxing revenue in the modern era. That is not a small thing. That is a career-shaping consequence, and it happened because Claressa could not regulate her emotions in a hallway. Piece number 2. The Run Your Mouth diss track. Claressa, instead of apologizing, instead of quietly working her way back into MVP's good graces, instead of doing literally anything a professional athlete would do in that situation, decided to drop a rap song aimed at Baumgardner. Hot 97 covered it. She rapped over the Ya Glow beat by Glorilla. The song went, in her own words, at Baumgardner's alleged scandals. And Baumgardner, according to essentially every outlet that tracked the response, did nothing. She left it alone. She kept training. She kept building her brand. And Claressa's diss just sat there on the internet drying out like a puddle in July. Piece number 3. The fingernail incident. There is video circulating on TikTok of Claressa clipping her press-on nails in a public gym and letting the nails fly onto the floor. Multiple TikTok accounts have posted this footage. It has been stitched, duetted, blogged, and turned into a running joke about her hygiene. Whether you think that is fair or unfair, it is out there, it is documented, and it has now been used as source material for 2 separate diss tracks. Piece number 4. The colorism controversy. Earlier this year, as reported by The Shade Room and covered by Instagram and Facebook accounts, including Unwind with Kaye, Claressa went on a rant claiming that most of her online haters were light-skinned women who she said had self-esteem issues and were projecting onto her. The clip went viral. And then, in a twist you could not script, her own social media photos over the following months started looking noticeably lighter and more processed, to the point where hip-hop commentary accounts started running side-by-side comparisons of her actual training camp photos versus her posted photos, and the difference was jarring. Piece number 5. The Franc-on-Cruz-Dezern beef. There is video of Claressa addressing controversy with another top female boxer, Franc-on-Cruz-Dezern. Another beef. Another distraction. Another thing that should not be happening in the same news cycle as an August 15th championship defense. Now stack all 5 of those pieces together in your head. A slap. A ban. A failed diss track. A hygiene meme. A colorism controversy. A separate boxer beef. All in a compressed window before the biggest fight of the second half of her career. Does that read like a champion locked into training camp, or does that read like somebody who has confused being famous with being important? And oh, do I have more for you? Because if you thought the surface stuff was rough, wait until you hear what the culture is doing to her right now, because the piranhas are in the water and they are not stopping. Baumgardner's fans are not going to want to hear this next part, and honestly, Claressa's remaining defenders are really not going to want to hear it, but I am telling you, what happened in the culture over the last several weeks is the most damning evidence of all, because you can spin a slap, you can spin a bad diss track, but you cannot spin the entire internet turning on you at once. Stay with me, because when the culture decides you are the joke, the response is not one video. It is a wave. Geisha305, who has been covering Claressa on her own platform, allegedly received a cease and desist from Claressa's team over her content. Instead of backing down, Geisha305 dropped a diss track called Popped Off. It went straight at the hygiene stuff, the fingernails, the personality, the whole package. It is playful. It is comedic. It has been reposted across Instagram Reels and TikTok. It ends with the hook, dirty fingernails, barely taking baths over and over. And the internet ran with it. That is cultural evidence piece number 1. The people who cover you are now rapping about you, and you cannot legally stop them. Cultural evidence piece number 2. The AI Remy Ma track. Somebody, and this is important, somebody who has not been publicly identified, generated an AI vocal clone of Remy Ma and paired it with a full written verse tearing Claressa apart across every possible angle. Her jawline, her BBL, her lace fronts, her endorsements, her husband Papoose, her hairline, her whole existence. And here is what is wild. The song went viral. Not as an AI curiosity. as an actual perceived Remy Ma diss. It got so viral that Complex Music ran a piece by Lavin covering the fact that Remy Ma appeared to be taking shots at Papoose and Claressa Shields in her actual song W.I. Fell, which stands for exactly what you think it stands for. So now you have two things happening at the same time. You have an AI Remy diss going viral pretending to be the real thing, and you have the actual real Remy Ma dropping a track that people are reading as a Papoose and Claressa diss. The line between AI Claressa slander and real Claressa slander has completely collapsed. Cultural evidence piece number 3. The Mr. Skinny TV coverage. Facebook posts from Mr. Skinny TV reviewing the AI Remy diss have circulated across the hip-hop commentary ecosystem, essentially confirming that even the commentary class, the people who make a living off breaking down these situations, are treating the AI track as legitimate cultural product worth reacting to. When commentary channels are giving your AI diss the same treatment they would give a real one, the culture has already decided the AI verdict is close enough to reality to matter. Cultural evidence piece number 4. Baumgardner's silence. She has not needed to respond. According to Yahoo Sports and multiple boxing outlets, Baumgardner has been focused on her own career, has been quiet on Claressa, and has essentially let the culture do the work for her. That is a masterclass in restraint that is only possible when you know the target you're ignoring is destroying themselves faster than you could destroy them. And here is where I want to give a real acknowledgement of nuance, because I do not want to be one-sided about this. Some people will say Claressa is being unfairly piled on because she is a black woman, a dark-skinned woman, an athlete who never fit the traditional beauty mold. And there is a real conversation to be had about how the internet treats women who look like her versus women who look like her critics. That conversation is legitimate. But it does not explain away her behavior. Because the response to feeling unfairly criticized is not to slap another woman in a hallway. It is not to drop trash diss tracks. It is not to pause training camp to record bad rap songs 3 weeks out from a title fight. Every single one of the choices that led to this moment was made by Claressa herself. And every one of those choices moved her further away from the ring and closer to the meme. Cultural evidence piece number 5. The counter-response cycle. The most viral clip of Claressa in the last month is not a knockout. It is not a press conference. It is not a face-off. It is a clip of her clipping her nails on a gym floor. That is what her cultural footprint has become. And the piranhas can smell it. Every content creator who has been sitting on Claressa material is dropping it right now because the culture has given them permission. When the culture gives that permission, it is not because the coverage is unfair. It is because the target has stopped defending the walls around their own brand. And Claressa stopped defending those walls the moment she chose to be a rapper instead of a boxer. Now let me shift the whole conversation, because everything we have been talking about up until this point has been surface. It has been beef. It has been rap. It has been culture. And I could sit here for another 20 minutes talking about who cooked who and whose bars were harder. But that is not the real story. The real story is what is happening on the business side, and this is where I need everybody watching to pay very close attention, because this is the part that basic reaction channels are not going to break down for you. When you sign a fight card at a major venue like State Farm Arena, when you are the main event on a DAZN broadcast, when you are defending unified WBC and WBA middleweight titles, you are not just a fighter. You are the marketing engine for a multi-million-dollar production. Every ticket sold, every DAZN subscription retained, every sponsor logo on that ring, every arena partnership, is riding on your ability to sell yourself as the person people want to pay to see. Now let me walk you through the 3 interconnected systemic angles that are all crushing Claressa right now at the same time. Angle 1 is the promoter angle. When Most Valuable Promotions banned Claressa from all future MVP events on May 18th, they did not just kick her out of a room. They cut her off from the single most important pipeline of premium women's boxing cards in the modern era. MVP, co-founded by Jake Paul and Nakisa Bidarian, has been the driving commercial force behind the Katie Taylor vs. Amanda Serrano trilogy, the biggest women's boxing paydays in history. The events that have moved women's boxing from side attraction to headline product. Getting banned from MVP is not a slap on the wrist. It is a structural narrowing of every future opportunity Claressa has to make life-changing money. And that ban happened because she could not regulate herself outside the ring. That is the first system angle. She has already made herself commercially harder to work with, and the industry has noticed. Angle 2 is the sponsorship and endorsement angle. Look at the AI Remy track. Pull the lyrics. There is a line specifically about the patches on her trunks and the endorsements she does not have. That was not a random shot. That was a shot with research behind it. In elite boxing, especially in the pay-per-view and premium streaming era, the number and quality of the logos on your gear is a public financial statement. It tells you how many major brands have decided you are safe enough, marketable enough, and disciplined enough to put their name on. When commentary and diss tracks are pointing out that Claressa's trunks look sparse, that is not shade. That is a data point. Because the reality is that when you are constantly involved in beef, when you get banned from a major promotion, when your public persona is being turned into memes about hygiene and behavior, sponsors quietly step away. They do not issue press releases about it. They just do not renew. And the empty spaces on your trunks become the record. That is the second system angle. Her commercial value is quietly shrinking while her rap discography is quietly growing, and the two are directly related. Angle 3, and this is the biggest one, is the narrative economy angle. In modern combat sports, especially women's combat sports, the fight is only half the product. The other half is the story. Katie Taylor sells because she is the disciplined Irish quiet assassin. Amanda Serrano sells because she is the Puerto Rican warrior. Ronda Rousey sold because she was the first. The story sells the ticket. The story sells the pay-per-view. The story sells the sponsor. Claressa's story used to be the underdog from Flint, the two-time Olympic gold medalist, the woman who kept telling the world she was the greatest and kept backing it up in the ring. That is a story that sells. But the story right now, the one being written about her in real time by the culture, is not the greatest of all time. It is the woman who slapped Baumgardner, got banned from MVP, dropped a bad diss track, got clowned by Geisha 305, got roasted by an AI Remy, and is somehow supposed to sell an August 15th title defense while all of this is happening. That is not a story that sells tickets. That is a story that makes people watch the highlights on YouTube for free after the fact. And once you lose control of your story, once the culture writes it for you, you do not get it back with one good performance. You get it back with a full year of discipline, silence, and rebranding. And Claressa does not have a year. She has 3 weeks. 3 weeks to somehow reframe herself as the serious contender defending her titles instead of the internet character defending her ego. That is the systemic problem. The system does not care about her Olympic medals. The system cares about what she has done in the last 90 days. And the last 90 days have been a masterclass in how to demolish your own commercial value at the exact moment you need it most. This is what basic reaction content will not tell you. It is not just that Claressa is losing a rap beef. It is that she is losing the business war her rap beef is a symptom of. And that war is being lost in real time, in front of everybody, and it may already be too late to turn it around before August 15th. And now here is the truth bomb. Here is the part that I want everybody to sit with, because when you strip away the AI, the diss tracks, the fingernail memes, the slap, the ban, and the beef, what you are actually looking at is one of the clearest documented cases in modern combat sports of an athlete self-sabotaging a championship run because they could not separate their identity from their internet persona. And I am going to say something that some people are not going to like. Claressa Shields is not going through a rough patch. She is going through a self-inflicted collapse of her own public brand, and every single decision that led to this moment was hers. The slap was hers. The diss track was hers. The colorism rant was hers. The cease and desist that made Geisha 305 drop popped off was, according to reports, hers. The decision to spend the runway to an August 15th title fight recording rap music instead of shutting down all outside noise and locking into training camp was hers. And what the AI Remy track exposed, without meaning to expose it, is the deepest truth of this entire situation. When an artificial intelligence with no career, no reputation, no team, no promoter, no fan base, no PR strategy, and no vested interest in Claressa Shields can generate a diss track that lands harder, resonates more, and gets more traction than any music Claressa has ever released, what that tells you is that the case against Claressa Shields is not being made by any single person. It is being made by the accumulated public record of her own behavior. The AI did not have to invent anything. It just had to compile what was already there. The hairline, the BBL rumors, the husband, the endorsements, the lace fronts, the fingernails. Every single line in that AI diss was pulled from something Claressa herself put into the public record. That is the truth bomb. She built the ammunition. She loaded the gun. She handed it to the internet. And then she was surprised when a bot pulled the trigger. The reason this matters, the reason this is the moment every commentator should be locking into and every fighter should be studying, is because it represents a new era of athletic self-destruction. In the past, athletes used to lose their brands through single catastrophic events. A DUI, a domestic violence charge, a failed drug test. Those were the classic career enders. But Claressa is showing us a new model. Death by 1,000 social media cuts. Death by choosing content over craft. Death by trying to be a boxer, a rapper, an influencer, a cultural commentator, a beauty icon, and a beef target all at the same time, and failing at every one of them because the human calendar does not have room for that many personas at that level. The consequences are already stacking up. She is banned from MVP. Her sponsorship count is visibly shrinking. Her promotional partners are watching her every move. Her opponent on August 15th, Kaye, is walking into that ring with the psychological gift of facing a champion whose head is not in the fight. And the culture that used to celebrate her as the GWOT, is now openly rooting against her, quoting AI diss lyrics at her in the comments, duetting her hygiene clips on TikTok, and turning her into the punchline she spent a decade trying not to be. That is what happens when you outsource your identity to an internet that owes you nothing. But here is the resolution, and here is why I want to end this part of the video on a note of clarity instead of pile-on, because the story of Claressa Shields is not just a cautionary tale about her. It is a mirror moment for the entire culture of women's combat sports right now. Because while Claressa has been out here losing to bots, other fighters have been quietly doing the work. Katie Taylor is still Katie Taylor. Amanda Serrano is still Amanda Serrano. Alycia Baumgardner just got a masterclass lesson in the value of silence and has come out of this entire situation looking like the mature professional in a room where the self-proclaimed GWAT could not act like one. Kaye, her August 15th opponent, is quietly training, quietly preparing, quietly building the case that on August 15th the biggest upset in women's middleweight boxing history might not be an upset at all if Claressa's head does not get right in the next 3 weeks. And that is the deeper lesson. In every era of every sport, the person who wins in the long run is the person who does every job to 100%. Not the person with the most Instagram followers. Not the person with the most viral moments. Not the person with the most rap features. The person who does every job to 100%. That was Claressa in 2012, 2016, 2020. That is not Claressa in 2026. And whether or not she can find her way back to being that fighter is the only question that actually matters going into August 15th. Because if she cannot, if she walks into State Farm Arena on August 15th with the same head that has been running her social media for the last 90 days, Kaye is going to walk out of that arena as the new unified WBC and WBA middleweight champion, and every AI diss track, every meme, every viral fingernail clip will suddenly not be jokes anymore. They will be the record of exactly why it happened. And here is the contrast that crystallizes the whole thing. One fighter went to the studio to record diss tracks. The other went to the gym to train for the fight. One built content. The other built a case. And on August 15th, we are going to find out which one of those choices was the one that mattered. The right person is still in a position to win if she can find the discipline to get out of her own way. The evidence still speaks for itself. The Olympic medals still exist. The 18-0 record still exists. The talent still exists. What has to come back is the focus. And the culture, whether it is rooting for her or against her right now, will absolutely course-correct the moment she gives them a reason to. That is how this works. Redemption in this sport is always one performance away. But it has to be earned. And it starts by putting the phone down and picking the mitts up. This is only the start. Because between now and August 15th, there are at least 2 specific developments you are going to want to track very closely. First, watch what happens with the actual Remy Ma situation, because Complex reported that Remy Ma dropped WI fell with what appears to be shots at Papoose and Claressa. If Papoose responds, if Claressa gets pulled into a real, non-AI rap beef with the actual Remy Ma in the 3 weeks before her fight, that is going to be a whole new level of promotional catastrophe, and I am going to be covering every second of it. Second, watch the sponsorship movement between now and fight night. Watch the trunks. Watch the ring walk. Watch the DAZN promo package. If any major sponsor quietly pulls their logo from her fight gear, that is the receipt that everything we just talked about is not commentary. It is documented commercial consequence, and you are going to want to be here when it drops. So do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now if you have not already, because everything is about to accelerate and I am not letting a single moment of it get past this channel. Turn on the bell notifications, because when the news drops it is going to drop fast, and the first 24 hours of any story in this space is where the real breakdown happens. Drop your prediction in the comments. Does Claressa Shields make it to August 15th with her head in the fight, or does she keep spiraling on the internet all the way into the ring? Tell me who you think wins that middleweight title on August 15th. I read every comment and the best ones are getting pinned. And if you thought this story was crazy, wait until you see the next video I am dropping. Because there is a whole other conversation happening right now about a top 5 active fighter whose promoter is quietly shopping them to a rival network in a deal that could reshape the entire women's boxing landscape before the end of the year. And the paperwork has already started moving in rooms most fans do not even know exist. I am going to walk you through the deal structure, the network politics, the money involved, and why the timing lines up in a way that nobody in mainstream boxing media is willing to say out loud yet. It is next. It is dropping soon. Click it the second you see it. Because if this video showed you anything, it is that the real story is never the one on the surface. The real story is always in the room. And I am going to keep taking you into the room.